Okay, we should. I say should be live. So welcome, listeners, to live news for September. Is it live? I don't actually see it there, but I have every faith that it will be. Maybe it takes a little while to catch up. I don't know. It should come up there. Is it live? Connect. I guess it is. Ooh. Oh, now then.
We're delaying the launch of our audio to make it even better.
Yeah. Delaying our audio and video for y'all's benefit. It is live. There we go. It's not showing. There we go. That's much better. Pinned chat, no thanks. Live chat, yes, that'll do. All right, that was a hell of a delay between hitting the button and it was starting. All right then. Yes, welcome, listeners.
In a mood today, man.
I think everyone's in a mood today. So Random was due to join us and has got the dreaded lurgy. He's got a sore throat, so he hasn't joined us. I had a sore throat about a week ago. It turned into a cough, and it got into a bit of a chest infection, and I'm just kind of getting over that now. So I may mute and cough every so often throughout this, but we shall try and get through as best we can. So you've got the other three with you, and we will go through what we've been up to this last month. So just yesterday, which may account for a little red colouring on my face that you can see, I went to Oulton Park, which is a race circuit just under an hour from me. I went with little Ben and his family, and they had a classic cars meet. So there were all sorts of things there. Lots of BMWs in that series. There were a Morgan category, so qualifying and racing for a fleet of Morgans, and then there was a 60s category. Lots of classic cars. Lots of MGs, lots of I've suddenly gone blank. Anyway, lots of Ford Cortinas, that kind of thing, Mark 1 Cortinas, just lots of E-Type Jags. There were some of those there, just lots of classic 60s cars ripping around the circuit. So good fun was had by all. So that was good yesterday. Since we last spoke, and Sparkle was saying just before we went live that he was a bit echoey last month. Well, I was using a different mixing desk last month because the one I normally use, it's about, I don't know, maybe a dozen years old, something like that. And it's was a couple of components inside, I think, were starting to be bothersome. The pots inside and the faders had never had a good clean, so my brother, who is a guitarist and knows lots of people in that kind of world, he's got a friend who professionally repairs amplifiers, mixing desks, all sound studio recording equipment. So he's had the desk for a few weeks, stripped it down, replaced a few components, cleaned all the rest of it, and so we are back on the normal mixing desk this month, so we should all sound a little better once I get it tuned in again. I took a picture of it before it went away, where all the dials were set to, where all the sliders were set, put them all back for when we did the top 10 the other day, and it was nowhere near. So, just being stripped down, cleaned and repaired, all the levels had changed in it. So I'm tuning as we go, so that has been done. What else? If you're into books, I am. Richard Osman, sort of British TV guy. He's written 3 or 4 books now. Pretty funny books. They're set around something called the Thursday Murder Club, and it's like all these old age pensioners in this home, and every Thursday they meet and they'll go through like unsolved police cases and try and solve them. So the murder mysteries, but there's a lot of comedy thrown in there. Like one of the characters in there she's like, 80 years old or whatever, but she's discovered Instagram. And you can go on Instagram and find her actual account. Like, someone set up this account and post things on her behalf. So his fourth book just came out this week. So I'm about halfway through that. Movies-wise, I watched one called Jules. I hadn't heard of it until I saw it last week. It's kind of like, the story is basically E.T., but it's an old guy who finds E.T., and calls him Jules, and he comes in this guy's house and lives with him. And it's set in an American town in the middle of nowhere. This ship lands in his back garden, and this alien comes out and starts living with him, and he introduces it to his friends. It's slightly humorous. It's a nice, just gentle-paced movie. It's not going to set the world on fire, but good, interesting movie. And another one I watched.
Sounds docile enough.
Yeah, it is. It is. Occasionally I'll get these things come up, like 20 movies that, do various things, with a plot twist, or 20 movies that
Perfect for a quiet night.
Yeah, in your slippers. Movies that
20 movies for nothing too exciting.
that you should watch but have never heard of. And one of them was a movie about time travel called Primer from 2004. And it's a real low budget film. It cost $7,000 to make in total. So the ratio of takes that they did to what ended up in the movie was like 2-1, which is just unheard of for a movie. So they saved a butt ton on film. They filmed it on a certain type of film to make it look like a home movie, because it's about these 4 scientists, and they are in this guy's garage and his house eating food, so it's just like a video diary of their work, and they accidentally discover time travel. But like the movie, first time you watch it, it's only like an hour and 15, an hour and 20, something like that. First time you watch it, it's like, well, okay, I don't know. I know what I watched, but I don't exactly know what happened, because there's all these different timelines going on, and you'll see things and you're not entirely sure first time through which timeline they're on and what have you. So interesting movie, definitely worth a watch. But like I say, it is low budget, so don't expect, anything too cinematic going in, but good story and pretty well done. TV shows. So there's an old show from like maybe even late 70s, but probably early 80s over here called Auf Wiedersehen Pet. And it's about 7 British guys who go over to Germany working, the builders, and they're working on a building site. And so each of them is from like a different region of the UK and very stereotypical of that region, so they've all got the different accents and mannerisms.
They all just hate each other.
So some of them initially, but if you've ever wondered about, British dialects and what they sound like and British mannerisms, then Auf Wiedersehen Pet is a great show. And it's like 5 seasons of it, and I only ever thought there were about 3, and I was just looking through random crap the other day, and so, they made 2 more. So I've been catching up with those, finished those the other day. So the first 3 seasons are probably the best. But yeah, if you're interested at all in British regional accents or anything, then watch an episode of Auf Wiedersehen Pet and try and keep up. There's another.
I do pretty good with the regional accents.
Yeah.
But there was one funny one where you and I we were in England, where you live, and the specificity of it. But
Yeah.
we were we went to this the Applewood or whatever, one of those
Oh yeah.
restaurant places. And there's this fucking guy there, and he's speaking pure gibberish, right? And I'm like, what the fuck region is that? Because, there's elements of this, elements of that, but he's just incomprehensible, right? And he keeps asking me, about various sports ball things. I'm like, bro, yeah, I don't follow it at all. and then I just descend into just gibberish. I was literally speaking gibberish to the man, and he's like, right.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, Frickelflag on ham and slappish, Framus or tickle bob law. Oh, yeah, right. And then we sit down, I said to Mike, I said, Jesus, where the fuck is he from? And I'm like, Joe, he's just a local hick.
Yeah, I remember the occasion, and we walked in, and he started talking to you, and his first sentence to you finished, and you looked at me, and you went, "Not a clue." So I had to translate. So there's another show I watched called Love and Death, which is like, it's based on a true story, a murder in the States among like this religious community, not a cult, but all these people who go to this church. And it drags on a little bit, but like the last episode, it shows you the murder that's been, they've all been talking about. Did she do it? Didn't she do it? And the murder scene just comes like out of nowhere. It's brutal. Like these two women going at it with an axe. It's just crazy. Like it just comes out of nowhere. A decent series.
Someone's gonna get an axe wound.
Yeah, decent series, but man, that last episode and the murder was just crazy. I started watching an old show as well. I think I've finished the first season now, or just about to. Steve Buscemi and Boardwalk Empire, which is about the Prohibition era.
Oh man, you just now seeing that?
Yeah, just catching up with it now. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna love the ending, man.
Right. Okay.
I tell you what, that is
no
a
spoilers.
Good series, man. Well, so I mean, given the fact it's a historical piece, I said the spoilers are baked in. But I tell you what, man, that movie, series, it was such a disappointment when it ended because I don't know. You read various things that they didn't return or, that was the planned ending, but there were people like taking photographs like the set. It's like, nope, they're tearing down the set, which means that's kind of like how, what was that Western?
Westworld?
Damn it, there's a what? No, there's a, Deadwood. So It's like, well, where's the next season? And they're like, well, maybe they're filming it, maybe they're not. No one really knows. And then someone like takes pictures of like, the trucks coming in and they're tearing up the set. It's like, no, they just took the set down with a bulldozer, so it's over. But that's kind of how things happen now, I guess. Anyway, the ending of a Boardwalk, it just unfortunately just kind of goes away. And there's a lot of speculation about whether or not it was going to come back for another season. But the two things for me that the greatest takeaway from that is how accurately they captured that post-World War I era, and that they didn't. Whoever did that cared about that it was historically accurate, not just a interesting looking set, an interesting looking environment. It was actually like, no, this is how things work. And what I also liked about it is how seamlessly they integrated special effects, where, like, for example, they built a practical set for the first story. After that, it's in like height, like first floor, second floor. And then after that, everything was digitally added above it. So you had that hyper realism of like when they're going down the boardwalk and they're going to the incubator, place and have the babies on, and all that is done in a practical set that is no digital embellishment at all. But whenever the camera just pans up or by and you see it goes up 3 floors, that's all digital, Right. But they didn't, you wouldn't have known, and that's the whole point of it, is good special effects to just appear as an aspect of the film, right? So, that was a great series, man. I really enjoyed it, and it was really, unfortunate that it went away and didn't come back.
Well, something else that went away but did come back. It's currently on a new season. I'm going to wait till it finishes and then go through it all. Is Futurama, which I was a big fan of. It's been a few years since they did that, but they're currently on a run of a new season. Games-wise then, mainly been taken up with the video pinball machine that I'm doing. So I've said before, there's a guy at work who is building the cabinet for me. So he's built like the base box, if you like, where all the playfield and the PC and everything sits. So I've got that just over there around the corner. I've got everything mounted in there, all the buttons, all the lights are wired up. And now he has got the screens for the for the back box and the DMD, and he is building the back box, which will obviously sit on top of the bit I currently have and hinge in some fashion so that it will collapse down, kind of like, you would transport a normal pinball machine. So that is coming along. It's just bare wood at the moment, but it's nice quality wood. It's all rubbed down nice and smooth. So I'm not sure exactly what finish I'll put on it, whether, I'll apply a vinyl or like paint it with, like a smooth roller or something. I'm not sure what finish to put on there yet, but the cabinet is coming along nicely. And finally, just out of interest, so, you go on YouTube and you go down like a rabbit hole of watching videos. Well, I ended up, and they pop up suggestions for you. So I ended up watching like Hot Wheels, and like people would mount a camera on a Hot Wheels car and send it around a track all around the garden and the house and everything. And they go on for like 10 minutes, these things, cars just going down these tracks. And then that got me into another one where they build a track and it's all just gravity. So it's inside, it's in one room. And so they'll have like 4 lanes and they'll let 4 cars go at the same time. And, the winner will go through to the next round. And they put like car noise on it during the races. They've got crowd noise on it while they're commentating. They do like commentary. Oh, he should have gone right. He's going for a pass round. Like as though these cars are actively doing these things, like going for a pass on one side, and he's going, oh, he should have gone the other way. It's like a whole thing that these people do, just commentating on cars going down a Hot Wheels track. It's crazy. And then I finally...
So you're building a track now?
Yeah. The video will be coming up after this. And then that got me into something called Marbula One, where people build like these tracks and set off like 100 marbles, and they go, oh, the red one's out in the lead. He's going around this corner. And it's like they're commentating on marbles going around the track. It's crazy. Things people get up to. Oh, I don't know.
Well, I tell you what you need to add to your, as you're doing your Hot Wheels, have you ever heard of the, oh, damn it, I've got one right around in this area. There it is. Hold on. You ever heard of the Sizzlers series? Like these right here, Michael?
I've seen things like that. I didn't know they were called Sizzlers.
Why is it
All
called
right, so
Sizzler?
this is what your next obsession needs to be. What it is, it's a Hot Wheel sized car, but you can see that it has a motor and a battery, right?
Right.
So it's designed to be hardware compatible with Hot Wheels tracks, right?
Right.
So I think you see it's running. So what you do is you have these little gas pumps, right? And it's the gas, or there's various chargers, but they're shaped like a gasoline pump, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look on the side right there, you see that little about a 16th inch hole next to the number plate. So what you do is you put it's just a 16th inch mono audio jack. So you take the gas nozzle, you put it in, and you turn it on for like 90 seconds, and that charges the battery. Then you put the cars on the starting grid, or you can just drop it right on the track. So there's different tracks. It comes in like a basic 8, a figure 8. Then there's an oval, and then there's just, you can build anything you want. You can also use conventional Hot Wheels tracks. So if you want some of the features, like the starting gates, the lap counters, all that, you're going to want to get the Sizzler specific stuff. If you just already have Hot Wheels stuff, you can just use the Sizzlers on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so in short, it's basically just a electric car in the same form factor as Hot Wheels, so it runs on Hot Wheels infrastructure, and they're really, really cool, man. So these came out like 68 to like 78. And I remember a neighbor of mine had the set, and they were very distinctive because you would, turn the switch on and the motor would start running. And I remember, he had it, and I always wonder what the heck it was. Every now and then I'd remember that. So anyway, I started just searching, and eventually I found on eBay the actual cars, and that led me to the name of the product. So then I ended up picking up like a couple vintage tracks, and So they relaunched the series like in 2006 or something. I didn't know this, maybe for like 5 years. So what happened was you had this giant run of new production cars. So there's basically like Gen 1, the original ones, plus the new cars that are out there. So anyway, if you're going to look at Hot Wheels, check out Sizzlers because they're basically motorized Hot Wheels and you can do more with them. So
Right. Yeah. Well, that brings my month to a close.
Well, I've just been busy as hell with every mainly car projects. I've been working on my Humvee and just trying to get that thing wrapped up. I long story short, I just decided to ditch the diesel setup, and I'm done fighting that battle. It's one of the worst motors ever manufactured in the world. So I'm building like a hot shit LS V8 for it and swapping that. And so anyway, I've been super tied up with that, but I did have a little time to get some gaming done, and I found a game that I probably maybe a third of the way through with it, and I want to share it with you guys, the listeners, and my fellow hosts here because I'm still not sure if I like it. So I've got a lot of time invested for something I'm still not sure that I like. So it's called Generation Zero. Have you guys seen this thing?
No.
All right. So it's not an A title. It's done by the same people that do the Just Cause and a couple other, not like C grade, definitely not AAA, but maybe like B to A titles that, sell well. They're on the shelf, but it's not like, Borderlands or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I got this game because I was I had played everything that I owned, and there's nothing new on the shelves. So I was looking through the monthly PlayStation Plus games, and there's this, Generation Zero. And the gist of it is you're in Sweden in 1989, and these robots of various capabilities show up. Some of them are simple little spiders. Some of them are bipedal. Some of them are, heavily armed. And then there's all this other shit like these jet, propelled, like drones that are flying around. Turns out they're Russian, right? And you're trying to figure out what happened because, the story starts off with, your ship gets hit by a missile and you wash up on the shore and, and it's really neat because it's all in Sweden. So the scenery, it's done in this sort of photorealistic style. So it's not like a rendered style. It's all just photorealistic, which works and doesn't work. There's bits you like, bits you don't. You can tell this is not like Borderlands gun physics, right? It's not that refined. There are bits where, you're running around and, you duck and run under a door and you get stuck under the door and you're just stuck. You can't edge your way out of it. So the physics aren't that great in some cases. It's not like it chronically happens every time, It does ramp up fairly quickly where, 1 minute you're running around kind of like the semi, you're out of the starter area into kind of like the main mission area. And these freaking things will just run up on you and start unloading on you. And there's no way you're going to defeat it. So you just die and then come back and hope they haven't respawned and you go a few more miles up the road. So the gist of it is there's this sort of evil genius, Bond villain type who I guess figures out how to transfer human consciousness into robots. And but most of them aren't that. They're just robots. So he's trying to like take over the world and he starts, sensibly with Sweden. And so I've been playing it and it's nice because it's different. You could tell what they were doing. Like they totally, and obviously, it being Sweden and a Sweden, team, they went with what they knew. And it is so well done because, we're all used to running through bunkers from like the Western perspective, the NATO perspective, which of course, Sweden now, but still, they have a very unique defense system where they have just tons of underground bunkers. Any town has like pre-done shelters and rally points. The nearby military bases or all these underground bunkers. So you get to explore that whole world and it's very faithfully done. And I like that it's not the same exact thing I've always played. It's not just another manufactured game, but it's also somewhat frustrating because it's definitely not a AAA title with AAA physics and AAA action. So I'm still not sure if I like it. There are moments where I get hemmed up and just blown apart, and you're not enjoying it. You're like, fuck this, man. And then there's other bits where you're running around seeing this cool scenery, and you clear out like a big giant bunker of these robots, and you're still like trying to get to the main point of the story. And it's a big map. It's interesting. Guys, I'm not sure if I like it yet, and I've been playing this thing for hours.
Well, if you've been playing it that long, you probably like it.
I don't know. I'm also kind of ready to walk away at points. I don't know. I might literally not go back in there and play it again and go, yeah, I didn't like it. I don't know.
Okay. Well, so as far as what I've been up to this month, let's see. I did a little comic purchase. So I think I've talked on the show in the past how I've bidded on things on Heritage and Comic Link and stuff like that. Trying to put together like a nice little wall collection of some things. And what I'm trying to do is piece together something from like every decade. So from the 30s up until the 2020s, I want to have one representative book from each thing. But there was an auction that had some like crazy, so like pre-30s, it's like where they start doing like pulp books, some of the stuff like that. And I found a book that was graded, that was up for auction from 1873 called New and Old Friends, by Beadle and Adams. And I scored it. And it was graded like a 7.0 out of 10. And it was like $120. And I think that's a cool conversation piece to say I have something from 1873, and it's
1873, New and Old Friends. Old friends, those goddamn Yankees. New friends, anybody else.
No, and it has like, it's a story with them. Like, I think they fight some Native Americans or something like that. So, I mean, if you think about this, like, this is like cowboy time, like, and this publication was printed. I don't know, man. I'll have to take some pictures and maybe we'll put it up on the Facebook or something. I mean, it's just fascinating to me. Like, for $120, you can get something from 1873. Like, not many of these things could have possibly survived. There's just, it's obviously not super collectible or desirable just based on the price that I paid. But I think it's pretty badass. So
it is kind of neat, though, the story of something surviving in that condition, and not succumbing to humidity or mistreatment or being lost, or somebody decide, what, fuck it, I'm going to read it and throw it away,
Light on fire. Like, there's really no foxing on the paper, which is interesting. I mean, the paper they must have used back then, and it's only black and white, right? But it must have been lithography or something like that. But hey, I think it's cool. Just, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of things that are 150 years old, so.
Yeah, I collect a lot of old model airplane kits, and some of them dating back to the 19, teens, right? And it is neat to have like this, because, the tech varied greatly throughout the years and evolved, but to have this cardboard box that shows like a picture of a plane on it, and it's, from the Harrisburg Home Model Corporation of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and has the address and everything. And you open it up, it's got like the 6 blocks of wood with like basically a drawing of an airplane that says "sand to shape," Yeah. And it is just that those kits, you got to figure some dude in, during the 30s had this in his collection of old kits, from the 19 teens.
Yeah.
And then, some guy in the 60s that even know, man. And this is where, it's like some collectors look at it like, you're the custodian of this car for the time that you own it, and it'll go on beyond you.
Yeah.
And, I think of it like, okay, I own my cars, but at some point, I won't, and some other person's going to own them. And I mean, it's mine. I paid for it. I can go out there and set it on fire if I want. But that's not the point. It's where was this thing? Like I could go over and take one of these kits from the teens or the 20s or the 30s, and you think about, all right, where was this kit in the 70s when I was a kid? Was it sitting on someone's shelf? Was it in a box in grandma's attic that had been there since 1920? When grandpa walked in front of a fucking milk truck and got killed and never built the car. And you don't know, but books are the same way.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is like 16 pieces of paper stapled together in 150 years ago that were printed on lithography that somehow survived. Like this, like I can't imagine there's a whole lot of these things. But anyway, it was cool. I teased it last month. Absolutely went and saw Guns and fucking Roses. It was great. You know what? Axl's voice is a bit shot. He's 60 years or 61 years old. I don't know. He's somewhere around there. I saw it indoors. They came to Charlotte, North Carolina, and saw them in the Spectrum Center. I had box tickets. Took my daughter and we went and saw it, and it was, it was great. Like, I don't know what people expected. We were up in Pittsburgh right before that, and we almost saw him in Pittsburgh, but we elected to wait and see him in Charlotte. And it was great. I had not seen Guns N' Roses before. I'd missed out on seeing them a number of different times. He can't hit some of the notes. When he's trying to hit those notes, it's almost like nothing was coming out. And then I think he was running to the side of the stage and like taking oxygen or something. And like, then he could like hit him on Night Train, but like couldn't hit him. The only thing I would say, I was a little disappointed. They didn't play My Michelle, which I would have liked. They played a couple like newer songs from Chinese Democracy, which like some random songs, which I wasn't a big fan of. But for the most part, they played most of the hit. They played for almost 2 hours, which is fantastic. I think the concert is wrapped up. If it isn't, you get an opportunity to see them. I mean, Slash is still fucking killing it on guitar. Obviously, it's only 3 of the original 5 members left, but still a fantastic show. It was really great. Who knows how long these guys are going to be out there rocking. Next show I'm going out to is going to probably be Greta Van Fleet, or maybe Aerosmith will be the next one up. As far as movies, we just watched Talk to Me. So we're at the end of September here. Going to be coming into October. So I'm going to be getting in my B horror movie mode. But we watched Talk to Me. It's fucking Australian. And I don't know what it is, but I have a goddamn hard time with Australian accents. Like, I have to watch it with subtitles. My lady was like, yo, like, why can't you? I'm like, what the fuck did they say? She's like, I don't understand why you can't understand them, but I can't for whatever reason. I have a hard time with the Australian accent. Just sounds like mush mouth to me. It's a good B horror movie. I think it's probably one of the better ones I've seen the last 3 years. If you can get past Australian accent, or you're somebody that watches with subtitles, Talk to Me is out for purchase. I don't know if it's out for rent yet, but it should be soon by the time you hear this. As far as shows, is it Ashoka or something? Whatever the hell that Star Wars thing on Disney Plus is.
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. I never watched the Clone Wars crap or any of that, so never saw any of the cartoon stuff. I'm not super familiar with her, other than I think she showed up in like Mandalorian or Boba Fett or something like that. Rosario Dawson plays a character. It's fine. It's pretty good so far. I think I'm on episode 3, maybe. Did some traveling, so had on my iPad, and it's pretty good. Like, there's definitely some good battles and fights. They have like some Dark Jedi. They're not quite Sith or something. I don't know. So far, so good. And also the Foundation finished up. That show is great. Somebody, I think I talked about it last month, read the books, quite a radical departure from where they're at, but just breathtaking cinematography. Games, let's see. I've been trying to play through Gradius again. It's just so fucking hard. It's just one of those shmups where like you can't fuck up. Like you might as well just start over if you do. I did beat it, but I'm just trying to go through without any kind of like continues and stuff. I don't know if I'll ever get there. Playing some 1943 on my iPhone. Been playing some Rolling Thunder, classic Atari game that I think probably is a little underappreciated. Pretty hard, man. I don't know if I'm just like starting to get, now that I'm 40 and can't hand-eye coordination not working as good as it used to or whatever, but Rolling Thunder, been fucking around with that. We finished up Zelda and been diving into Link to the Past. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre, playing that. That's a Gun Studio game. I think I talked about this a little bit last month. Not really digging it any bit more, but again, kind of like moving into fall and like Halloween, that kind of shit. I am going to Universal Studios for the Halloween haunt, October 7th. So I have like VIP, blah, 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 all that stuff. So I'm going to hit up all the haunted houses down there. Check that out. Just fell in love with it last year. And then I went to Scarowinds, which is like another haunted theme park thing, earlier last weekend, and that was good. So just gonna be really enjoying some of this like fall time stuff. I've been vegan for a couple months, and I just had like a massive craving.
Dear God, Mike, the infestation is spreading.
Dude, I mean, I feel good when I'm vegan, but for some reason I was craving meat so hard yesterday, and I was like, fuck, I just need some meat. So I bought a pack of bacon.
Like all good vegans.
Yeah, dude. Like I cheated. Like I usually I'll eat meat 1 month a year, and the rest of the time I'm vegan because I just feel like my body needs the protein sometimes. Like I can't get it from soy and beans and shit like that. And
you should have a talk with Random. That way he might get the energy to make.
Dude, like you need.
I see you still have your energy though to travel the country and go to interesting places.
Yeah, I was in Chicago. I was in Chicago this week.
Just not overseas.
I was doing some work on Michigan Avenue, Chicago. It's like it's starting to get shitty up there. Chicago is a weird city. I love indoor buildings in Chicago. Don't like outside.
Indoor buildings. That should be our next That's our next goddamn.
Or like the interior
indoor buildings.
The interior of buildings. I like that in Chicago. Don't really much care to be outside in Chicago because it's just
those exterior buildings.
It's fucking cold.
So Mike, some of us who aren't just running around VIP passes to willy-nilly corners of the country, we're going to be showing up someplace soon, aren't we? And listeners should get the hell out and come out and see us. Where are we going, Michael?
We're going to Blackpool. Yay! So while Sparkle's twatting around in Universal Studios, we'll be in sunny Blackpool.
So when are we going to be there?
It is October 7th and 8th.
And what's going on at that time?
It is Play Blackpool.
So, listeners, if you're in the UK, if you're in Europe, or if you're in the United States and, want to go over and check out the other side of the world, you should come over, Play Blackpool. It's Blackpool, man. We can't promise you it's going to be the nicest place you've ever been, but it's going to be worth going. Blackpool, it's just one of those places that, I don't know, man. It is what it is. It's a freak show. It's decay of grandeur, as Gore would say. But you're gonna have a good time. The expo is awesome. I mean, the reason we go to crappy places is because cheap expo space, right? Where you're running an expo, your only concern is, can I afford the place to put this, right? If it gets in too nice of a, you go for too nice of a place, it's going to be very expensive. Then your tickets go up and people go, oh no, it's just a very delicate balance. But fortunately, Blackpool, for all of the location, is a little sketch. Never was that?
Nothing. Sorry, I just
Oh.
had to kill a window.
Never had a bad time there, and always good to see some of our listeners come by the booth and say hello. We are still determining whether or not we're going to have a booth there or if we're going to be mobile, but either way, we are going, and you can come out and meet us, and we can meet you and have a good time. So I'm sure we're going to do some sort of get together that evening, Friday evening and Saturday evening. So definitely we'll be able to spend some time hanging out with listeners. So look forward to seeing you guys there. And of course, a lot of good times at that expo, man. Their arcade there it's always been pretty good. If for nothing else, it's worth a day of going to Blackpool just to play games.
Yeah, there'll be, as Scott says, big arcade, loads of consoles and computers, and always a good pinball presence as well.
Yeah, one of the better arcades I've seen at expos for sure. So they definitely put into work there. But that's how it is, man. It's the observation I made long ago is that in the UK the expos all hate each other and will do anything they can to drag down the other expos, but the individuals will volunteer and show up to every expo, and it's those guys, those individual donors that bring 2 or 3 games in the back of a rental van, and then you get 80 people doing that, and all of a sudden you've got a huge arcade with just beautiful selection and pretty much any major title, and then always some obscure ones. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. It's always a good weekend. Wherever you are, it's always a good weekend. Hanging out with us because we're the best guys in the world, which is why you're listening to this now. And at least one of you is watching it as well. All right. Time to get on to some news items then. So we missed a month of news through scheduling. Then we rolled them over to the following month. We didn't manage to get through all the ones that rolled over last month. Sparkle and I rattled through a few, and again, we didn't get through them all, so we've got a mix of old and new, and we will try and rattle through the majority of these. We'll spend some time with the ones that deserve it, but we'll try and get through quite a few for you this month. And this one...
Hold on. It was Sparkle and Drinky Time Mike.
It was Drinky Time Mike last month.
Drinky Time Mike. I like Drinky Time.
I haven't slurred as much as I slurred on last month's news in a long time.
Like a decade.
Yeah, it was the result of some afternoon drinking. I was trying to think where I'd been. I'd been out for the day anyway. Oh, I'd been to
half a bottle of bourbon.
Yeah. My son-in-law was playing in a charity cricket match, and I'd sponsored a few things there, so I went over and spent the afternoon there in the sunshine, drank quite a few ciders in the sun, and then came home. Brought a bottle of bourbon into the studio with me, or a half bottle, I think it was, and
it was at one point.
It was.
Yeah.
I'm just reminded of that scene in Wolf of Wall Street where he goes, thankfully I got home without any incidents.
Yeah.
And then he shows the car.
Yeah. How was news, Michael? Oh, yeah, got through it just fine.
Meanwhile, it's steaming out front in the driveway.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going way back to July for this first couple from David Gyrick, and one is Imamura interview. So the guy behind Star Fox and F-Zero does an interview about leaving Nintendo and his future. F-Zero's in the news at the moment, obviously, because of the Battle Royale they've just released. And he also sent us the story of Noctis, which was apparently a forerunner to No Man's Sky. I haven't heard of it, but there is an article on timeextension.com, which you can read at your leisure. So thank you, David Gyrick, for those.
And I will bring this thing up where I can actually read it. All right. Got one here from the Random Dave. It's fun to cook up the stupidest idea. The people competing to make the worst computer games possible. Well, okay, why? Let's see. Um, the annual Crap Games competition has been bringing Spectrum fans together for more than 25 years. It all began with an April Fool's joke in a magazine called Your Sinclair. So apparently, the ZX Spectrum, they created the Crap Games contest in '96. And then for over a quarter century, people build games such as the Lawnmower Simulator, where you mow a lawn. And although that became a thing now, they have farming simulators, don't they? So I'm not so sure how crap this is. It may actually be a thing. So anyway, huge article. Check it out. It is the history of crap games on the ZX.
Gareth Hamer sends one in, pencil not included. And this is a new game that is the Advanced Virtual Tape Player. And it's basically a simulation game. And let's see, it's been announced by retro indie developer Caffeine Withdrawal Games. They have closed early access, but you can play it. And basically, you are trying to decrypt data. You got to like spin the tape. You experience errors. You have to like remix and like change some levels and stuff. Mike, I think you'd enjoy this, man. I do.
Spinning
you
a
run
tape
into-
round a pencil, that's something we've
Nah,
done many
like
times.
you like get errors and like have to fix it and stuff like that. It's going to be on Steam, and like a demo is going to be out in November and stuff. I mean, it looks like something that would be fun to mess around with for like an evening, you know? So check it out. Tape Recovery Simulator 96K.
So, another one from Gareth Hamer here. Will this implode faster than a tin can, he says. And again, it's an article on Time Extension, and it is Atari and Play Magi, Inc., the maker of the Polymega console, are. It says joining forces. In the article, it says they're collaborating. And the Polymega, as you know, is the sort of base console unit that you buy modules for. So you'll buy the Genesis module, slot it on, and it gives you a Genesis cartridge and a 9-pin, controller ports and what have you. So they're joining forces with Atari to bring 2600 and 7800 compatibility to the console. Not sure why they need Atari to do that, but they do. And Atari were...
So I had that one pulled up too, Mike. And this would be a good time to bring up some of the interesting involvement of Atari, right? Now, let's bring up another acquisition recently. Atari Age has been bought by Atari.
Yeah.
And, of course, Albert is... he sold it, and then now, as I understand it, he is staying on as a paid employee, right?
Can we get him on the show?
No. It's not going to be a productive or interesting discussion. That's the problem. Okay. So, he sold Atari Age to Atari, right? Now, here, Polymega is now involved in Atari, right? I do not understand any motivation or interest for involving Atari. Okay, now here's the thing. This is number one. This is not Atari. Okay, It's a company that owns the Atari logo and name. Okay, this is not Nolan Bushnell. It's not Ted Dabney. It's not Al Alcorn or any of the people that followed. It is an entity that bought the name, right? And we're talking about systems here that are decades old. What is the need to bring in the company that bought the name Atari? I mean, I'm befuddled. I mean, so one of the things that Atari has, the new Atari, the entity that owns Atari, one of the unfortunate things that they have been doing more than a few times is imposing let's just say things the community doesn't want. So what the hell is the point of involving a company that's likely to exercise creative control to, one, limit options, 2, limit discussion, and then 3, limit community interaction. For what? What was the economic gain that was worth it? I mean, look, it's Albert's company. He can sell it to anybody he wants. I'm not saying he can't. And this company here, but what was, you're getting Atari's distribution? Is Atari going to put this thing in the store? Is Atari going to put Atari Age? How long before Atari Age, is starting to see content censored because of Atari doesn't like that negative discussion about some policy or product they introduced? I don't know what to make of this. What do you guys make of this?
Well, I don't really understand it. Some of you may know his backstory, and I don't think the guy needs the money. Maybe he's just sick of it, man. Maybe he's just tired of managing the site and stuff like that.
But he's still doing that. He's carrying on doing that, but now as a paid employee. So if it felt like a chore and a job before, it is a chore and a job now.
Yeah, but maybe there's like some additional resources or support or something like that. I don't understand why. I think the guy's doing okay. He doesn't have to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it of all the forums, ours fell to the same fate as many others did. Social media killed a lot of forums, and that one is still as strong as it ever was. It's one of the most active forums out there. But I just wonder, what do Atari get out of those active forums? There's a lot of homebrew games that are made and sold via Atari Age, but Atari, well, the company trading as Atari, get nothing out of that. I mean,
what's the point?
I don't see the benefit of them actually doing it. What are they getting out of it other than to, quell threads that they don't like, that drag their name through the mud kind of thing?
Yeah. Was it disclosed how much they sold it for?
If it was, I haven't seen it anywhere.
Okay.
I doubt it was.
Now, let's say, okay, hypothetically, let's say a Coleco Chameleon-like event were to come along again. What would be Atari's response? Would they be like, oh, no, we're not going to have that debate going on in there? I mean, let's say they release a new product and everybody's like, because you're talking about Atari's loyalists, right? About longtime fans that are still on forums, okay? So you're going to roll in there and you're going to want to dictate terms of discussion, and you can say, oh, no, that wouldn't happen. Oh, somehow I believe it would. I mean, this is just...
And it's now
bizarre.
It's now one of the official faces of the company trading as Atari. It's not a hobbyist community anymore. It's an official Atari product, if you like. Now they bought it, they own it, they control it.
It's weird because I do follow.
Because it's not like you see on Nintendo's forums or anything like that. Oh, look at these idiots making this Amico. Have you seen the state of this thing? It's all fake. Like, you're not going to see that on Nintendo's forums. You're not going to see it on,
No, you won't.
No, you're not going to see it on Atari Age at some point.
Yeah, no, I follow a football team, and
Go Sports.
yeah, I mean, whatever, right? It's, like, this is probably not the audience for it, but I do, and it's an independent blog site, and I like that it's managed by these independent guys because they're very fair with their coverage of the team. Like, they'll say when somebody sucks, they'll say when somebody does good. Anything goes on the forum. It's very active, usually during the game. There's a live sort of forum that's happening, so people are live reacting to how the game's going and stuff. I can't imagine what it would be like if that forum was purchased by the actual official football team. Like, I think it would suck.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to imagine that most people are pretty disappointed. I was banned from Atari Age. So,
Well, I mean, your character was banned from Atari Age.
I'm not banned, but I can't get back in. I don't know why. As far as I know, I'm not banned, but I tried to get in the other day and I was unable to. I did a password reset and all that. Never got the email to reset the password, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't understand the with Atari Age, with Polymega, with anybody. I know I've said this just not 10 minutes ago, but I cannot put my finger other than just a cash payment. Now, does Atari have this much cash to buy up community assets or community hobbyist entities? Look, because here's how it works, okay? They come in, they say, all right, this forum, you're no longer going to say negative things. We're going to do this, and people just leave and pop up somewhere else that they didn't spend the money for. I mean, to me, it's the most bizarre thing that doesn't make sense. So, listeners, if you have some kind of idea of does this make sense to you, and if so, on what basis, hop over to our Discord or any other location that we have a presence at, and let us know what you think, because I'm befuddled.
Tap us on the shoulder at Blackpool and say, "Oi, I've got an opinion on that," and here it is.
Tap and duck.
So we have another one.
So,
go on.
I was going to say, going here from Gareth Hamer, and it is it's a link to our article of favorite top video game emulators, and it says here, have you guys done a top 10 emulators? No, we haven't. So, Mike, can you add that to the list? Top 10 emulators, and
Sure.
That would make a good one. And because there are certain emulators that are just so pivotal, like Nesticle, where you were suddenly able to run Nintendo on a decent Pentium, and you could just play all the Nintendo games and almost everything worked. It was fantastic. And now Modern Vintage Gamer, who has a channel on YouTube, turns out he was one of the guys behind most of those things. So it's kind of neat to go watch a guy like that and just talk about all the different emulators he made and how he did them. So anyway, the top 5 mentioned here are Null DC for the Dreamcast, Dolphin for the Nintendo GameCube and Wii, PCSX2 for the PlayStation 2, and then we have Neo Geo and Capcom emulator called Coax, and then, of course, number 1, MAME. Been using it off and on since it started back in the 90s. In fact, my first multi-cab I built in the late 90s just to play MAME on. And MAME is an incredible resource to this day. So anyway, great little article there, worth a read. And sooner or later, we will bring to you top 10 emulators courtesy of Gareth Hamer. Thank you.
Something else courtesy of Gareth Hamer is this one, Sensitive Soccer, but someone dropped the camera. It is, now there's umlauts over the A, so I'm not sure how to pronounce it properly, but Suvaran Soccer is a work in progress Amiga football game to challenge Sensible World of Soccer. And it does look similar to Sensible Soccer, but the camera angle is much lower. It's a work in progress. When this was sent, I don't know if it's out yet, but it could well be. So keep your eye out for that.
So got one here from Random Dave, and I think Dave sent a link to the wrong video. It says, watch this Giants, to me, RC car is every 80s kid's dream, right? Presenter's pretty annoying, and it's a shame we don't see it running, but fun to see someone would make it. So then he links to a video, which is actually more or less a commercial for a brand called WL Toys. They make some RC cars. So I guess what he may have been referring to is Tamiya, which if you look at the wall behind me here, let's pan up just a touch. You'll see tons of RC cars there, of which, there we go. Many of those are Tamiya. Let's see if I can do this right. Well, that's a Kyosho. That's a Tamiya Grasshopper. That is a Charisma Brat. That is a HG Humvee. That is a Tamiya Avante. That's a monogram made by Bandai Tornado. There is a Tamiya Brat. And over there is actually a super rare clone of a Tamiya Grasshopper that was cable controlled. It actually has a wire going from it. It's just a super rare clone. It's cool to have. So going on in each direction from here, there are many, many, many more Tamiya cars. So I like Tamiya and other brands. So there was a guy in Japan, one of Tamiya's popular cars over the years is one called the Monster Beetle, where they took their basic, off-road chassis and then they stuck on a Beetle, a VW Beetle, kind of like this. There we go. This right here, this Kyosho, and to the right of it is actually a Tamiya Beetle. But yes, so anyway, a guy built a full-size version of the Tamiya Monster Beetle with the paint and the decals. I think that was the video UK Random meant to post. So we'll get Random back here one day and ask him if that's what he meant to post. But yes, always cool. And now say my if you look real quick, there's two of them up there. There's that one, and then over here this maroon one. That's the Tamiya Brat, and that's a model of an 82 Brat, of which I have probably 20 different models of that. And then so my truck is my actual 82 Brat is done up more or less to look. It's the same as the kit box because the kit box was a faithful representation of the original. But there is a guy out there who reproduced all the Tamiya decals onto his 82 Subaru, which was just really cool. So carrying on.
Okay.
The car is the model of the car.
Yeah, classic chicken and egg or horse competition. Which came first, the horse or the egg?
I'm picking this one up because I feel like I do it every month, and we have yet again another port of Doom. This one sent in from CK, and now you can play Doom on the Atari XE XL computers. It actually looks pretty good, considering all the limited colors and everything else. This is a port by Christoph Sowicki or something. Gonna probably butcher that, so my apology, but it's been optimized, and you could go ahead and check it out. There's 11 music tracks, 20 sound effects. You can play this thing on a calculator. So kind of shocking that it took this long to get to the Atari XL or XE, but there you go. If you have one of those platforms and you've been itching to play Doom, it's ready for you to play.
Doom just keeps coming up. One here from Random Dave. Pico ZX, a portable ZX Spectrum, even less pleasant to type on than the original. He says, usually people...
It's all true.
Usually people try and improve the ZX series keyboards, but not in this case. This is a Pico ZX, as I said, and it's almost like a single circuit board with a screen on it. So like all the keys are just marked out and they're pretty flat. I think it's similar sort of thing to what was he talking about in the top 10 is Arduino Tetris, Pico Tetris, whatever it was. Similar to that, it's just like a flat thing with a Spectrum keyboard laid out and a little screen in it. So yes, it does not look pleasant to type on. And I am going to cough right now.
He's coughing, people, right now.
I did. There you go.
And here we go. So got one here from David Gyrick again, and it is 87% missing the disappearance of classic video games. Interesting. Let's see what he has to say. New study reveals most classic video games are completely unavailable. Well, clearly he hasn't been to my place. So let's see what he's saying. They're available. He's going to go. All right. The Video Game History Foundation, in partnership with the Software Preservation Network, has conducted the first ever study on the commercial availability of classic video games. The results are bleak. 87% classic video games in the United States are critically endangered. Okay, yeah. So if you're waiting for some company to monetize games that were designed and created by somebody else, fully monetized, sold, and exited the market 10, 20, 30, 40, or yes, now even 50 years ago. Yes, the situation is bleak. However, if you look at the gaming community, Kelsey, that vibrantly maintains incredible archives of these things, I would say the number is more like 87% are readily available. And, let's see, right now, let's just do a quick, I'm sure my NFS will be lightning quick. And I can tell you exactly how many I've got going here. But yeah, like I would place the number at somewhere around 87% are readily available. What would you place it at?
I would say pretty high up there. There'll be a percentage that we simply don't know about. But yeah, I think it's 87% missing. No, I wouldn't say so.
Well,
No,
monetized and provided through a commercial source. That's what he's saying.
yeah. It's probably not too far off then. I mean, monetized and available for sale. Yeah.
80%.
There's a shit ton.
Yeah, I just don't need somebody like, let's say, for example, going back to remember the Game Slam interview, right? That was Stock Dropping Retro aired opposite side B of a Chameleon episode, right? And he very plainly said he inserts himself as the unnecessary middleman. So yes, 87% of games have not had an unnecessary middleman insert themselves yet. Right now, if Michael, if you said to me, hey, Scott, do you have a good archive of CGA games that would run great on a 8088 or 8286 DOS machine? I'd say, sure I do, Michael. How many gigabytes do you want? and then we'd all be happy, right? So yeah, I'm not so sure so right now, Michael, I'm looking at 2.9 terabyte of 33,551 items in those folders. So I'm going to say, yeah, I don't really care that somebody hasn't monetized, upwards of 90% of the games that were ever made. I don't really need that service.
Yeah.
Well, how will uninvolved parties make money? I don't care.
Okay. Got one here from, let's see, David Gyrick. And this is the Tato Laserdisc collection. He mentions that he played a lot of Time Gal for this Sega CD. And it looks like Tato is bringing a bunch of their 1980s Laserdisc games are coming to the Nintendo Switch. So if you got that Switch, you're looking for something new. Let's see. This was back in July, so these are out by now. I never got into Time Gal. Have any of you guys?
Not me personally. Scott's just moved away. I think he's signing for a parcel.
So these games, Time Gal came out in 85. Super Battleship Yamato came out in 1985. And Ninja Hayate in 1984. They've all been HD remastered. Oh, sorry. It's coming out December 14th in Japan, and it'll be getting a physical release as well as a standard version. Let's see. Let me do a little math here. Convert some yen to dollars because I have no idea. So it looks like it'll cost you $132 essentially, and you get the Tato game collection on special Blu-ray disc, some kind of reprint of a mini standee, some little posters, a pamphlet, and some other junk. So I don't know that any of us are really into anime stuff here. Like maybe
random
Dave,
if any of us
yeah.
are.
Yeah, random's probably the most into. I mean, I think we all like Robotech and Macross and some of that stuff. But once you start getting a couple layers deep of the onion of anime, I think you lose most of us, unfortunately. But there you go. Tato, one of those companies. I love their games, man. I wish there was more stuff. So I don't know what the hell they're up to these days, but generally like Tato stuff.
So there's
Tato's cool.
a site I stumbled across a couple of months ago, rarehistoricalphotos.com, and it's all sorts. It can be like fashion in the 1890s and some of the first photographs ever taken of famous people and what have you. And this particular one is stunning retro TV set designs, unconventional beauty that's hard to find today. And some of these are just weird and wonderful. All legit products, all, TVs going back to the very early days, tiny little screens, they're built into like pieces of furniture. So it wasn't just you bought a TV set. You'd buy like a cabinet with cupboards and drawers in it, and it also had a TV. Just scroll through that at your leisure and enjoy some of the weird and wonderful TVs. I bet, Scott, did you ever have the space helmet TV with the visor that slid up?
No, I minorly collected a couple of TVs. Mostly, honestly, ones that are useful as computer space monitors. But, I do have a decent little collection of like 8-track and cassette players that have some of those funky, space era designs. But yeah, for sure, man, that is cool looking. So got one here from it's about Saberman from who turned it in, Gareth Hamer. And it was also submitted by CK here. I want to make sure he gets credit and possibly a few others. So apparently Saberman has announced that Arlasoft has made available a downloadable preview of its theme park inspired by Funfair Incorporated on C64. So looks like it's, partially completed. And I guess they're going to finish it. So anyway, Saberman still out there doing Saber things. I wonder if we'll see him this weekend. Or not this weekend, like 2 or 3 weeks.
Got another one from David Gyrick, and this is a Super NES MSU1 DuckTales. So it looks like he's sending a video here, and it is a conversion. So they've completely converted the recreated the NES to Super NES. I think you have to watch through it, but if you're a DuckTales fan, pretty crisp and clean. So that's a cool conversion. Thanks for sending that one in.
Okay, here's another Atari head scratcher. I wish I had seen this one before we did our little off-road session there, but submitted from the random one. If they really wanted to make money, they'd have limited edition colors too, is his comment. So Atari has launched a collectible set of arcade PCBs. Now, let's see here, okay? The new Atari reproduction boards were created in collaboration with Retro Arcade, who specialize in, Retro Arcade printed circuit boards. So they make replica arcade PCBs. All right. These unique PCBs are primarily intended as a collector's item, Atari said, describing them as stunning wall pieces. The screen printed graphics on each board features the logo of the game and a historical breakdown, if you can manage to read it. So they have silk screened on like a picture of the Lunar Lander marquee and then some verbiage about Lunar Lander. Okay. Let's see here. They follow the original schematic and can be used to replace damaged original boards. So, yeah, they took, wow, my God, $200 plus for a PCB. Okay. Sure.
Wow. I don't know. Somebody's going to buy them, and I just know it's not going to be me. It's crazy. One here from David Gyrick. Clock Tower returns. And this is Way Forward have announced Clock Tower for consoles and PC. The classic 16-bit horror game comes to the West for the first time. It's not a game I'm familiar with, to be honest. There's a couple of screenshots down here. That one looks a bit like Splatterhouse. That one doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, Clock Tower was one of those like weird, kind of like around the time of Resident Evil and then Silent Hill, and like Clock Tower just was sort of always like the lame PlayStation 1 that just it's of that same era. Let me see who made that. It was Capcom's. It was Capcom.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Random loved that game, and he's mentioned it before. But yeah, probably like the low tier of the three.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't recall him mentioning it. Maybe he did, and I wasn't listening. Because I'm sure that's happened. One here from David Gyrick. No, it's not. Yes, it is. David Gyrick. Game of the Year book. And this is a book by Jordan Miner. And it is Video Game of the Year. A year-by-year guide to the best, boldest, and most bizarre games from every year since 1977. Paperback is currently out of stock. Let's have a look at ebook. They've not done a hard book. Ebook is $20 and a bit of change. It's available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo Store, Apple Books, and Google Play. So I wonder if it's got any excerpts or any sample years. I can't see any on this site. Details. Let's have a look. No. I was hoping for a preview of a couple of years' games, but no, not there. If anyone's got it or read it, let us know. Give us a couple of years and tell us what games feature for that particular year. A few people have joined us in chat. Who have we got there? We had Brandon, early doors. We've got Martin. We've got me. We've got Keith. And we have got Mike Garcia has just joined us and said, hello, amigos.
Oh, you know what? We haven't heard a damn thing about the Amico, have we?
Not for a long time.
In like
no.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should inquire and see what the latest is, because I'm sure there is a latest.
I haven't had an
What there
email
isn't
from
is a console.
I haven't had an email from Mr. Adam for a while.
Yeah, that was wow. I'm still trying to remember whether or not I've lost money on it. I did do a pre-order. Yes, I did a pre-order of the Founders Edition. So they got what was that? $200 or so?
Something like. I thought you ordered. Didn't you order 2 different colors as well?
I did. So I ordered. I ordered the carbon fiber in red. But I honestly don't remember if I ever got billed for that. Like if that was successfully done. I think they were having issues then. I can't remember. I did, however, paid for my Founders Day edition. So I guess Tommy Tallarico owes me $200.
Yeah.
Oh wait, so whatever happened? Like, is that just dead?
They didn't make the console.
Phil Adam emailed us
you know
about
what?
it.
Yeah, I think next time I see Tommy, I'm going to ask him for my $200. I'm not going to be nice about it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's dead.
Hit me in
Like,
the face. My cousin is a fucking rock star.
no, but like, can he sell his Ferrari or whatever he has?
I think he has to.
I don't think he intends to.
I think, well, last I heard about Tommy, he was, and this was just rumor, I think, but he was selling his house and some of his cars, if not all, and getting divorced. So
no,
that's what I heard.
Man, it's fucking Mike Kennedy shit.
Yeah, he's moving to a motel in Texas.
No, it was Arizona.
Arizona, yeah. No.
A very reasonably priced hotel.
Fuck, man, for real.
That's what
That
I heard.
sucks.
That's what I heard.
I mean,
Yeah, but see,
you
look,
know,
I have an extraordinarily low level of sympathy for people who
nah.
take money from me and don't deliver what they said they would.
Aw,
And
come
it
on, man.
falls somewhere. No, it falls somewhere in the category of fuck 'em.
Nah, you don't want him to like lose all, like get divorced and lose all this shit. Like Tommy was a good dude, man. Like
if he was genuine
yeah,
with
he
some
just
of the
put-
stuff he was saying, yes, I would agree with you.
like
But he was
like-
he was lying and knowingly telling lies.
come on, man. You don't want Tommy to lose his shit. Get the fuck out of here.
dude. When his 355, because it hadn't been serviced, I know in a number of years because we discussed it. When his 355 gets parted out and sold on eBay,
Oh no.
I was great. No, because I really need this
No,
bottom
dude.
No, the valence that goes around the steering wheel column, those fall apart. They're known. The plastic as it ages just gets weak. And if his is still good, I will pay money and I will buy his lower steering column valence and install it in my 355 with a smile on my face, thinking about him making ramen noodles in that fucking coffee maker in that hotel room. And yeah, I'll be cool with that.
So the last
man,
email I got from Phil Adam was in May of this year.
What's Phil Adam up to?
He was trying to save the business and the console and not doing very well at it.
I heard he's going
He
over
just
to.
doesn't want this mess to spill over to the magazine.
I heard he's going over to Atari. I've heard they brought him on as a consultant to Atari.
Yeah, coming to an Atari forum near you.
Yeah.
Last I heard, he was excited for the future and what it means for bringing the Amico experience to the public. So, whatever that means.
Dude,
Sure.
how much
Precious
money do you
little.
think Phil? How much money do you think Phil Adam fucking extracted out of like that shit?
Everything he put in and a bit more besides. While Scott still owed $200.
Yeah. Go get your money from Phil Adam. He's like just a grifter, like going around sucking money out of shit.
You know, I tell you what, like, remember when I offered to SoCal that I would forgive and forget?
No, you wouldn't have.
No. Hold on. You're right, but you're wrong. I told him I would forgive and forget the money that I sent him, for my share of the business, if in fact he would box up that stunt pilot and deliver it to me, and that the Kennedy stock would be handed back to him. He didn't do that, so I would offer here to Tommy, if he'll go out there with and it's a Phillips screwdriver number 2 tip, and there are like 6 screws underneath this valence. If he can go out there to his garage and remove that lower valence, right? And as we're talking about, I mean, come on, the gas cap is $600, okay? So probably this little piece of plastic is at least $200. So if he can go out there with a screwdriver and remove the valence and then put it into a box nicely packed and mail it to me, I'll consider that we're even on the Amico. So...
Come on, man. You don't want
Is that
anybody
not
to
a
like.
fair-
You
Is
don't
that
want anybody
not
like.
a fair offer?
Come
I
on,
mean,
man.
dude, you lost
shit.
$200, but like, no one wants like their like family to get divorced and like all that shit. Like, come on, that sucks. But
It does suck.
And then I'm taking his wife out that evening.
oh no.
In the car that now has a working lower
Oh,
steering
no.
wheel valence.
All right. Well, I'll do one. Let's see. David Gyrick, my guy. The long rumored Quake 2 Remastered is out on PC and consoles. The upgraded version of the 1997 classic includes expansion, visual upgrades, crossplay, and accessibility options. So I don't know. Accessibility. I guess that's for people that are blind or hearing or something like that, which is interesting. But let's see, accessibility option notification after the high contrast voice chat transcription, input remapping, aim assist, and the ability to auto switch to a new weapon when you pick it up. So Quake keeps rolling on. Let's see. And that is from Bethesda, actually. So you can pick it up on fucking everything: PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch. Game Pass on PC, cloud gaming, and good old games in Steam. There you go.
There you go. A couple of quick fire ones. David Gyrick tells us that Toomba is returning. There is a trailer for it. And Karl Klitschke tells us, God help us, they're remastering Gex. It says it's an article on PC Gamer. Does that mean it's just coming to Steam? Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't say that I can see on a quick run through. But yes, they are bringing Gex back. The Gex trilogy.
Who wants that?
I don't know, but not Karl Klitschke.
Nah, Gex was always like, it just felt like another like sort of Me Too game of the era. Like we just find some anthropomorphic animal and it's going to be like another one of these type of games.
Like Croc. There was one called Croc on the PS1
yeah.
as well.
Yep, that sucked.
Yeah. What's this one from Charlie? Sega Dreamcast Development Unit donated. Who's it donated to? Not sure if you need an account to view it. You do, because it's a link on Facebook. I will put it in the show notes. I cannot get to it because this browser will not let me into Facebook. So, thank you for the link, Charlie. Yeah, can't see where it's been donated to, but it has been, so that's good.
Got one here from Gareth Hamer. 45 years later and still invading our lives. So, article from Eurogamer. Google launches Space Invaders game to celebrate the franchise's 45th year anniversary. But, ... Okay, how does this go wrong? It's an augmented reality game, I guess, available on mobile devices. So I guess you can run around and see Space Invaders coming down. So, okay, interesting. So, yeah, I mean, Space Invaders 45. I remember, so the first commercially produced coin-op video game, Computer Space, 71. The Odyssey, 1971, the first home console. So arguably 1971, you can definitely say is the birth of video games as a consumer product that's accessible to the general public. So I remember, when we were first looking at, literally 10 years ago, when the oldest video games had turned 40, okay, now 50. I mean, it's kind of funny because when I started to talk to younger gamers, like say, some of the younger guys I know that are in their mid-20s, and to them, it's like almost like say, for us, television, radio existed decades before we came along, so it wasn't new. But if you look at our parents, particularly, UK and I, you look at our parents' generation, they were the ones that grew up on radio that had been there for decades, got the first TVs when the TV shows were all new or very young. And as kids, they saw television, right? When we came along, there was no novelty to the first television show, because television had been around forever. Heck, we had reruns of old shit from the 60s.
Yeah.
So, we're sitting there watching Gilligan's Island that had been out before, right?
Beverly Hillbillies.
So, yes, yeah, exactly. So same idea, right? We had, to us, there was no nostalgia, no relation. It was just, oh yeah, TV's always been there. And we've reached that point now, I think, not so much at the 40th anniversary, but at the 50th anniversary, we have reached the point where it's not there's no nostalgia. It's just, oh yeah, of course there's old video games, just like there's old TV shows. That doesn't mean I want to watch them or play them. And we've gotten to that point. So just kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. So something else that's interesting, you've probably seen that the EU are requiring Apple to put USB-C connectors in their iPhones in Europe. And I think they're going to do that worldwide now, just so they're not making two different models of each phone.
Oh, they'll put a pin down the middle of it or something.
Oh, yeah, they'll change something.
Nah, they announced it.
Yeah, and this one here from me, new handheld game consoles will need replaceable batteries from 2027, says the EU. So will they bring that across to phones? Are we going to go back to phones that have replaceable batteries? I don't know. Maybe that's the next target. Why do they feel the need to interfere in that? Is it because they love the consumers and want to protect them?
Certainly not, no. Now, the interesting thing about that is I'm definitely an advocate of right to repair. Certainly right to repair is a massive thing. And, also this new concept of, like Apple does not consider, now keep in mind, they're not going to hand you that device until you have paid in full. I cannot go into an Apple store and go, look, I'll pay you sometime for this thing, but they require payment in full before they hand me the device. But to them, there is no point at which they consider that I own that device. And there's no point. They don't see a barrier to entry. And by all means, they put in the EULA, they reserve the right to enter that device and just traipse around it willy-nilly. And I'm not okay with that. They try and suppress the supply of parts. They do deliberate things like serializing the most mundane of components so that you can't just replace it, and certainly not make it accessible to calibration or configuration software to affiliate a new serial number of, let's say you replace the microphone board. They're not going to let you do it. So I have no love for Apple in this regard. They're one of the worst offenders of right to repair. So while I'm absolutely in all respects an advocate of right to repair, this sounds more like European EU busybodiness. We're going to get in, we're going to make a change, we're going to make a demand, and then that's never what it's about. There's something else to this. This is not done out of a goodwill gesture to ensure that consumers have a accessible line of accessories or repair. That's not what this is. So, I don't trust them. I don't like them, but I'm not sure what they're up to with this.
Yeah, I think it's kind of jacked that, like, they have to switch over. And a lot of that had to do with impact to the environment and stuff like that.
Because all their proprietary cables are shit and last about a week, and then people throw them away.
No, they're not. Shit. I have Apple cables that are a decade old that they're still rocking. I think I
guess your cables from the 60s.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, I think they're just trying to have a standard so they don't, you don't have to carry around multiple cables, and they can.
How is that a government mandate? At what level does the government feel that they have the need or the right to create legislation to dictate? If Apple wants to put a lightning port on their phone, I don't give a shit. And there's only one reason why I really don't care, because I'm not going to buy a fucking Apple iPhone. Why am I not going to buy an Apple iPhone? It has nothing to do with the selection and options of charging ports. I really don't care. The reason I won't buy an Apple iPhone is because they're very hostile to consumer repair, and they feel that they have the right to intrude onto that phone and will inspect, modify, hand over data to government entities upon request. Not even unless now, if you are a Islamic extremist terrorist who is conducting active terror cell activities in the United States, Apple will not hand over your encryption. But let's say you're a parent who goes to a school board meeting, yeah, they're going to crack your information and hand over to the government. Well, no, me and Apple aren't friends, and I'm not buying your products, but not because of your selection of charger ports, my friend.
Well,
So, I don't care.
Benjamin Martin in chat said he saw a group of people mobbing an Apple store in the mall yesterday, and there's probably a new TikTok that you need an Apple 15. I mean, dude, the iPhone 15 is dope. It's titanium case. I mean, it has a lot of what you want. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a government overreach to tell you what kind of fucking cables you have to use in your goddamn thing.
I did not ask, nor do I need that service from a government, any government, But
Yeah.
so Mark, where do you stand as, an Apple fanboy? And I don't mean
I'm
that.
literally wearing a fucking Apple shirt right now.
So, all right, you buy Apple products, right? So let me ask you about this use case, okay? Because we all know for the children, it's for the kids. It's for the kids. You can't resist anything for the children, right?
Wu-Tang is
So-
for the children.
Apple comes in and says, we are going to, and nobody would object to this, we're going to fight child pornography, right? So what they do is they come in and they say, we're going to write this software, and it's going to install on your phone, and it's going to take hashes, which is a mathematical fingerprint of known images. And we're going to troll through your data and look for things that match that image, right? Okay, I mean, on the face of it, you're going to try and keep kids from getting molested. Who isn't, against that? I mean, I am totally against that. But does that then necessitate the retailer that sold me a consumer electronic telephone intended for me to conduct private communications, say between me and Mike and me and Sparkle? At what point, let's say I bought a Dell computer, and this is the example I always use. Let's say I bought a Dell laptop, right? And, that night I go into my kitchen at midnight for a Dr. Pepper zero sugar soda. And I look over, and Ted Dell's sitting there in his underwear at my computer, scrolling through all my fucking family photos and my private photos. And I'm like, he hears the fucking shotgun slide rack behind him. And then he hears me say, who the fuck are you and what are you doing in my living room going through my computer? And he goes, oh, it's cool, bro. I'm Ted Dell. I'm just checking to make sure you don't have any, them naughty pictures. And I'm like, Ted, I didn't invite you to my home and say you could go through my shit. And he goes, yeah, you did. You signed this EULA here. I'm in your home going through your shit. Where does that end? And I tell you where it doesn't end. It doesn't end with them going, yeah, that's not our role. What it ends is, we want to look for extremist content. What's extremist? It's whatever any particular controlling entity of any government says it is. So let's say that.
But it's not a government.
I'm almost done. Let's say at that point, Apple says, and believe me, they'll do it and then tell you about it because you'll find about it in the news. Yeah, we went through and found, let's say anybody that had memes that could be considered anti-government. And here's the list of 1.8 million people that have anti-government sentiments because they had memes on their phone that match the hashtag of anti-government memes. And in fact, they are. Wow, man. You're going to go with a manufacturer that does that.
Oh, my God.
That's like buying the fucking TV set from 1984. It has a great picture. Why wouldn't you want
it? I think first off, Apple's commitment to privacy and security plays a significant...
As long as you're an Islamic extremist.
No, they have put a significant amount of support into privacy and security. The company is privatized user data protection. They've offered all kinds of features like their biometric security and robust encryption. They have stringent app review processes. I mean, I think generally users can have the confidence that their personal information is safeguarded, unlike other platforms. Now, I get it. Like, you're a Linux guy, you're out there in you're in the wilderness. Like, you are on one far extreme. But I think as far as most commercially viable products that you can generally purchase, I think that Apple provides consumers with the most amount of security. And sure, we can get into some like Eastern
As
philosophy.
long as you totally conform to their
Okay,
worldview.
but I mean,
and
yeah,
your affiliations
but
and
like,
loyalty.
yeah, sure. You introduce like a slippery slope. Like, okay, so they're gonna look for
They're
child
sliding
porn, and
down
then
that slope.
where's it gonna happen? You know, what's next, and what's after that, and when do they start reporting stuff to the government? But I mean, I think there's been a lot of synergies between Apple and their security and simplified user experience and sort of their integration and ecosystem, what they provided for a long time. Look, I've been using an Apple, like my first computer, 5-year-old 1985 or whatever, like that was an Apple, and I've only used Apple Macintosh products my whole life.
My first computer was also an Apple. It was an Apple II.
We've talked
1977.
about this as far as me looking to switch to a Linux box, and maybe at some point I will, but they don't offer, like, I can't do my job, like I can't manage people. All my employees are using Adobe Creative Suite programs, and I can't do that on Linux. Just doesn't have that. Like, so I can't do my job. Now, do I need a private box where I can do some other stuff? Yeah, sure. But you know, I think you get into some Eastern philosophy stuff, like the virtuous person that has nothing to hide, you know. So it's like I really don't feel that anything that I'm doing needs to be safeguarded beyond what it's already being safeguarded by Apple.
Okay, yeah, I have nothing to hide. Then surely you mind if we come in and have a look around? Do you?
No. And look, like I'm certainly like
I'm sure they love
like
that kind of fucking lickspill attitude.
Look, when I applied to colleges, applied to colleges, and everywhere I had, and this was like, you know, a million years ago at this point. But my dad would not give me his fucking social security number. He would, like, I come from old school. He was like, fuck that. He was like, read the back of this goddamn card. What does it fucking say on there? For the purposes of the Social Security Administration Office or whatever it says on an American Social Security card. He was like, I'm not giving this fucking number to anybody unless it's the goddamn fucking government. And that's the only person that needs it. So I had to get like a tax EIN from him to apply for financial aid and all this stuff. So I get it, man. I come from a long line of people that were like very like privacy number one. Like no one needs to know my fucking business.
Who feels entitled to be the arbiter of surveillance? Okay, you have nothing to hide, so surely you don't mind if we take a look around. Here's the problem, man. A company or a government that presumes it has the right to intrude into your, you know, it says right there in the Constitution, to be free of unreasonable search and seizure of their person, papers, letters, and possessions. That modern phone is your letters and possessions, right? Yeah, so sure. Whether or not you have anything to hide, once you lose that position of liberty, of freedom, of not having a company saying, we're just going to troll through your shit, right? Now, Apple isn't the only one abusing this, right? But if you accept it, it becomes the norm. At that point, this is one of the main hallmarks, the main distinction of a police state, like say East Germany, right? Is that you are not allowed a private self, okay? Any of your communications, your thoughts are open to government surveillance, right? Or in this case, corporate surveillance, right? So that is the problem right there, that a company feels it has the right to deny the private self, to conduct, you know, surveillance of your most personal communications. Well, if I send a text to UK Mike, they feel they have the right to read that and engage whether or not that is a concern, threat, or anything to them. I can grant that.
I think you bring up something that is far more interesting than, you know, I think the corporate surveillance things and the ability for you to have, you know, individual severance from your day job. So, you know, I've known people that have been fired from their job because of their political views and things like that. To me, which is probably which is a bit more topical. You know, I don't think Apple is the fucking security privacy boogeyman out there. I think far from it. I think you can make a lot worse choices. And I think, and you agree to it too. We've had the conversation. Like their products generally work. They have a really good tech ecosystem. Like you don't have to worry about.
I've said about Apple many times over that Apple tends to do less than say, let's face it, there's two major competitors, right? Apple and Droid. Apple tends to do less than Droid, but what they do works the same way every time. Now, I bought the very first Apple iPhone. I bought Apple iPhones up through 12, okay, 12 generations of iPhones. And the reason I stopped buying it is because they utterly changed the bargain that I am no longer buying a device that is my device. Like if I buy that said Dell laptop and I wipe that hard drive and I install Linux, I don't have a continuing ongoing relationship with Dell. They don't need to come into my data storage and poke around to determine whatever the thing of the moment is that they want to determine. We don't have that kind of relationship. And since Apple chose not to respect that kind of relationship, and then to start doing monkey shit like, oh, you can't swap a battery even if you have the wherewithal to swap it, because we serialize the battery just to keep you coming back to us. I'm sorry,
that's not true though. I've swapped out batteries in iPhones and I've done it myself.
It is
in
absolutely
fact, I'm going to
true.
go do it next week because I just ordered a new one.
All right, so right now you buy 215, swap the batteries, and you're going to have two phones that have disabled features.
No, I'm not.
Same with the screen.
I've swapped it in an 8. I've swapped it in a 9. I've swapped it in a 12 Pro.
Before they implemented a lot of the serialization. And they have implemented the serialization. And that's why our relationship is concluded. But anyway, but that doesn't mean Droid's a good place to go to either. They're not. They don't respect you. Google has no more love and respect for you as anything more than a subject, right? So, I don't use their ecosystem, nor do I use Apple's when Apple became more like them. So anyway.
So tell the fine folks what you recommend then.
Well, what I recommend is a system called Calyx OS. So Calyx OS, kind of like when you take that Dell PC and you wipe Windows, that hot mess, and you install Linux and you're running your own system that doesn't report to anybody, that phone, it is Calyx OS. It does not send a packet of data to Google or Apple every fucking second telling it he's got this browser tab open, he's going here, he purchased something here, and record every aspect of every second of your life, because I don't have that relationship with my telephone.
But it is an Android operating system.
So Android itself is actually a Linux OS.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a fork thereof with a lot of modifications, but it is not inherently evil. What happens is when Google takes it and slathers on layer and layer and layer of malware, spyware, and intrusive functions, and then sends it out there to the world, that's when it becomes a problem. So either a de-Googled phone, which is taking a Google Droid phone and ripping out the Google guts, or a fork of Android, in which there is one called the AOSP, Android Open Source Project, that does not have any of that tainted malware installed and is open source, meaning that people can look at it and go, yeah, this says what it says, what it's going to do, and it does what it says it's going to do, and it doesn't spy on me, relentlessly build a model of my life, then, Android itself is not bad.
So what happened to the Pine OS that you were toying around with previously?
Hold on. I will, let me show you something, son.
But we're now a cell phone show, folks.
Yeah, we may or may not get back to news items, but just chill.
There's another one. There's actually a Pine here.
How many fucking phones? So he's just pulled he just pulled like a dozen phones out.
Yeah.
Guy has his own goddamn cell phone shop going on here.
I literally do have no less than there's actually a Pine 64 module. I do have probably.
And I noticed real quick. I did notice the last time that I texted you that you didn't have that good blue chat bubble when I sent you a message. It turned to green. So You're trashing my phone as far as I'm concerned now.
Yeah. So what I have no less than maybe a dozen phones, right? I am currently I rotate and experiment with Pine Pro, which is a pure Linux product. A Librem. I run a
Libro.
de-Googled setup called God damn it, Brax phone, which is one of the best cybersecurity digital privacy advocates out there. Is a guy named Rob Braxman. He's a physician who is also a software engineer, and he went down that road. Anyway, he has his own line of basically de-Google phones. So they take Android open source, which has no Google products built in it, and then they load it onto sort of generic middle market smartphone. And it's an interesting fork of the product. But no, I've gotten no less than a dozen phones, and because I mean, look, it's a growing part of the future, and certainly the relationship is starting to change, and I don't like where it's headed. So yeah, I do like playing with different phones, different setups, different operating systems, and exploring options. So sure, yes, I do have a dozen phones.
What are you looking for your mobile device to do for you?
Okay, how about this? What I look for my mobile device to do is this: send and receive phone calls to another party, send and receive messages to and from another party, encrypted end to end if I so choose, and exchange memes. And whilst doing all these
Fucking
things,
meme device.
I think it's not. But while doing all these things, what I don't want it to do is involve parties that I didn't send the communication to. At no point did I send that meme to anybody but you. At no point did I intend that communication to be read by any corporate or third-party censor. And the fact that they feel the entitlement to be present after point of purchase is why I say, no, sir, farewell to thee. That's why I ask my phone to be my phone and only send information to and from the people I elect to send it to.
I mean, but are you looking to like check stocks, play games, like social media, any of that stuff from your device?
Some of those and some of those not.
And I think that depending on what you're looking to do on your device is going to be dependent on the platform that you're going to want to use. I mean,
and your willingness to sacrifice
sure,
privacy and sovereignty over your digital life. And if you are not let's say Apple offered me I've said I like their form factors. I like their design and packaging. I like their software fit and finish. They do a tremendous job at that. Those features are not worth it to have somebody that feels entitled to have a after purchase controlling entity on my phone. And that includes modifying battery usage, modifying data, pawing through data. No, we don't have that relationship.
So who do you use as your service provider?
So in the US, you don't really have many choices. All the towers are owned by 3 different people, right? Yep. So you can use one of the major 3 providers, or they have what's called virtual service providers, which are typically affinity groups, right? And I love it. Oh, Benjamin Martin says here, Scott needs a messenger pigeon and a pager. Funny enough, pagers are the easiest thing to monitor.
He said so he could decipher the memes from binary, which is fucking great. Guy's fucking funny.
But I choose not to have a relationship where a company feels that they have the entitlement to dig through my digital life. Because let's say I did it.
But the goddamn like the providers can still dig through it, man. No.
Yes and no. Okay.
Verizon can surely see what.
It depends on what you call digging through. So right now, Verizon. Let's say Verizon was my provider, okay? Or if I went with one of these affinity group providers where they take a portion of their profit and apply it to other things. They're all still buying time from the other providers and utilizing it, okay? You cannot escape using providers. So and this is something you must understand when you think about cybersecurity and privacy. If you have a phone, okay, it has IMEI, which is like a digital fingernail.
Yep.
And it is, in order to access the network and do intra and inter-tower handoff, it must have an identifiable IMEI. Okay. Now I'll give you two different cases this data has been used for. One, it was used, there's a documentary, 2000 Mules, where they went through and they purchased, because you can purchase this data. I can purchase data from your hometown, like where you live, and I can find you and I can watch every movement of you and your family throughout your day. Okay. Now, in the hands of me, what am I going to do with that? Nothing. I don't really care. What if you would, let's say you and some sort of scammer run afoul of each other, and do you realize how easy it is to do that? Okay. That's already out there. So in case one, that data was purchased by a company that did analysis on it and showed how ballot mules were going literally to these NGO, nonprofit PACs, picking up ballots, going to a drop off over and over and over and over and over. Nobody votes 67 times. Okay. And that data it said, these are the people, these are the numbers,
Hey,
this
man.
is what they did.
Hey man,
Nothing-
vote early, vote often.
Nothing happened. Okay. It was just like, oh yeah, but this can't be trusted, right? Okay. January 6th, people behave like it's Portland and start yelling and throwing and walking into buildings, right? And that exact same technology was used to identify thousands of people that have been swept up and arrested. Okay. So that data, for either whatever side you choose, whatever your political affiliation or non-political, can be simply objections to corporate capitalist surveillance capitalism. Point being, anybody out there can obtain that data. I could obtain the data from EU. Privacy laws are a little different, but I could still purchase that data and then figure out a way to identify UK Mike. I could track him everywhere he goes, well, everywhere his phone goes, which is everywhere he goes. There's no escaping that because the architecture of the network and the fact they chose to make the data something that could be monetized. And that's just what it is. In the case of Verizon having access to the data, like there's nothing Verizon can do to intrude onto this phone's logic board and dump the NAND data and get my personal photos or documents or anything else, my ROMs. They can't do anything about it. There's nothing they can do because the architecture isn't there. But 99% of the populace understands neither of these things. And, there they are in the 1984 television set store going, oh, I really like the bezel on this one. It'll look great next to my fireplace. Isn't that where they watch you from? Yes, it is. I don't care. And that's where 99% of the public is. And I can't help that.
Okay. Let me pull up this one from David Gyrich, because why not? It's the unofficial and unauthorized guide to 3 decades of violence, Doom at 30. And it was a Kickstarter that ended up being unsuccessful. They were looking for $13,500 and they got $3,500. So didn't make it, but apparently you could play Doom on a calculator, but you can't get a book made. So there was a Kickstarter. Hold on. What was let me search.
Folding spoons.
No. What was the Old School Gamer. That is from Ryan Berger. Ryan Berger, sort of a community dude, has been around for a while. He is trying to launch the 7th year of Old School Gamer. Let's see. Right now, he has 22 days to go. He has 81 backers, and he is at $5,500 of the $20,000 goal. Ryan Berger, good dude. He has Thor Thorvaldsen, who also used to work on Retro Magazine, doing a lot of the illustration. Looks like they are running a Kickstarter, so by the time you hear this, you still have plenty of time to donate. They put out not a fan of some of the overall design, to be honest. But like as far as like a magazine that comes in your mailbox and shit like that, Ryan Berger's still doing it, which is kind of cool. I think they're trying to do some quarterlies and some other stuff. There's a whole bunch of different options for you. You can get digital subscription. He also has, to me, this is where it gets a little bit Ponzi scheme shit, where you can get into like lifetime subscriptions for and be part of like the publishing board or something. Like you just have like unlimited copies for the rest of your life for $1,000, which, like depending on how old you are and how long this thing runs for, but like unlimited subscription, I don't know. But anyway, he has been putting this thing out for a number of years. I think some of the art's a little hit or miss, but hey man, go check him out. It's pretty decent. I hope he gets his goal. 20 grand. He's at 5,000. He may hit it. It's probably going to limp along to the finish line, but there you go.
So, just one thing I want to acknowledge, because Benjamin Martin threw in a great point. Keep this brief. How about those fucking Huawei phones? Camera's always on. Yes, that's another example that if a company feels it needs to turn on a camera remotely to view from my device, I paid them money for it, now own. Yeah, we're done. And I don't need smartphones to live. I can turn the goddamn thing off, throw it back in the drawer, and be done with it for life. But yes, the convenience nice, but not at the price of freedom. So, got one here from this was from Gareth Hamer, and it says, personally, I think modern gamers have it worse with DLC, broken content, and constant updates. And this was written by young little scamp Matthew Bird. I think for his 12th birthday, his nuts dropped, and he felt that he was ready to write an article. So he did. And he says here, the 15 worst things about retro gaming. All right. 15 frequently bad ports of good games.
Oh.
Very few ways to tell how good a game was. Region locked and limited releases. Stealth sections, escort missions, and other forced gameplay mechanics. Absurd hardware and software prices. The inaccessibility of PC gaming. I don't even know what he means by this. The cruelties of online gaming. So many cables and wires.
I literally just spent like half of yesterday like wrapping up random fucking cables and wires in my garage.
I hope you survived. Truly terrible gaming hardware. Few, if any, patches or fixes. Broken and confusing consoles. I don't know what to do. It says there's a reset, and so many loading screens. Passwords, memory cards, trying to save your game. Unnecessarily difficult and confusing games like twists and turns. Not being able to find the games you really want. Never encountered really any of those problems.
I think all of this is pretty much summed up by the game Myst that fucking blows.
Too many cables in that game.
And we got a letter in from Andrew.
A letter?
Annette,
was it
email.
sent by first class post?
Yeah. Andrew sent in some hate mail saying, sorry, disagree. Myst was one of the best games ever. I played it on most platforms, the best being Quest 2. Andrew. Well, sorry, Andrew. Your opinion sucks. Myst has a lack of action. We love you, but, the puzzles are frustrating. You can't replay the game. The graphics have not aged well. It has limited replayability. It's terrible. I think all the hosts agree. I love that you sent in, sort of your rebuttal to our Myst hate. So if you guys hear something that you disagree with, feel free to send it in like Andrew. Andrew has some cojones and we like that. But sorry, dude, Myth still sucks. And I'm not trying to play it on a Facebook platform.
And we may well bump into Andrew at Blackpool, Scott. We've met him before.
We will.
I don't know if you recall, but
We
we've
have.
met him before. So a couple of quick fire ones here. This one is a Famicom 40th anniversary video sent in by David Gyrick. It's a YouTube video, the history of the Famicom in 40 games. You can watch that at your leisure. This one you need to see to appreciate. It is from David Gyrick again, Mega Man Docs. And this one, Capcom have shared 10 pages from the original and never before publicized Mega Man 1 design document. And these are hand-drawn pictures and some notes, so you can go and look through, see how Mega Man 1 came about and why it looked the way it did. And another one here from Gareth Hamer, Franchise Slayers, he says. And it is a list of 15 games that ruined great franchises. No matter how big a video game franchise may be, it's sometimes only one title away from failing and falling into obscurity. So we'll have a quick scoop down this list. Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock, Command & Conquer 4 Tiberian Twilight, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Crackdown 3, Thief, Turok Evolution, Blood Omen 2, Splatterhouse 2010, Dead Rising 4, Star Fox Zero, Driver 3, SimCity from 2013, Medal of Honor Warfighter, Dino Crisis 3, and Duke Nukem Forever. Now, some of those I would possibly agree are franchise slayers. Some of them I would think that series has just kind of burned itself out, and it wasn't necessarily the last game that was terrible and killed the franchise. Maybe the franchise should have just died anyway. So have a look through the list and let us know what you think.
So, got one here from CK, and it's about how four friends built a hypercube to play Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles together. Now, this is a good example of something that I think is really cool, but I couldn't be bothered to do. So, have you guys seen? There's a guy on YouTube, and he did a video about how he built his own home TV network. So, what he did is he took a what's called a RF modulator. So it can generate RF just from raw video on, say, channel 3, 4, 5, 8, whatever. So he set up this network. So he has like one Raspberry Pi that plays nothing but 60s sitcoms, another Raspberry Pi that plays nothing but like 70s sitcoms and commercials, right? So he pipes these out all blended together on a single cable. So he has a cable that has like actual channel 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he can go to his TV, he can go to channel 2, and that's nothing but like 60s TV shows and commercials. And I thought that's pretty cool. And I thought, wait, I can do all that now with Plex, and I don't, I couldn't be bothered setting up. I admire what he did, but there's no way I would be bothered setting up this massive system. So what these four friends did is something that's on the same order. So they took, and it's huge, they took 4 GameCubes and then a number of adapters to get the video and the control to and from the GameCube into a Wii over to a PC and then networked. So here's their description, okay? They have a PC with a PCI capture card, a Wii, 4 GameCubes, audio splitter, 4-way video splitter, USB 3.0 capture card, and here's their description. With the Hypercube setup, remote players are able to connect for remote play via Parsec. This creates a controller device on the host computer which can be mapped to the Gimmicks adapter as a PS3 controller. The PS3 input is changed to PS2, which is then changed to Nintendo GameCube. Furthermore, each GameCube is equipped with a Game Boy Player attachment. This features an expansion port found on the Game Boy adapter, allowing the Game Boy Advanced to Nintendo GameCube adapter cable to be connected. The Hypercube enables 4 players to remotely play Final Fantasy on Crystal Chronicles. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. What previously required a Game Boy Advance for each player to participate in can now be done from hundreds of miles away on all original hardware. Yes. So, and each GameCube, of course, has a Game Boy adapter. This is the most complex way to get this job done that I think could possibly be done. I love it. I can't be bothered to do it myself.
Yeah. It's a lot of to-ing and fro-in, but it gets the job done. All right. One here from Random Dave. An underground arcade and gaming bar moves into a huge new venue, complete with space station outdoor terrace. And this is a bar in Manchester, NQ64, which I can't remember if you were there, Scott, with us when we went and visited. It was underground. It was very hot. It was very sweaty. There were shirtless Chinese men playing video games. And alcohol was very expensive, and the music was so loud you couldn't hear each other talk. So we left. I don't know if they're all the same.
I wasn't there, but I think I would have just whipped off my shirt and jumped in on...
Get some fucking
DDR.
baby oil out.
Konnichiwa, motherfucker, let's play. Do the thing where you fucking lash our wrists together and then fucking go at it. Whatever, man.
No. You said konnichiwa. It should be ni hao.
Ni hao.
Yeah.
Ni hao, motherfucker. Ni hao.
Yeah, motherfucker is...
It's universal.
It's not region locked. Here's one from Gareth Hamer. It is upscale the original PC Resident Evil games. He says he thought buying the actual HD games might be an easier option. Probably is, but I did watch this video. Look at these shots. Is it video? Or was that another one I watched? It does look a lot better, the games, but yeah, maybe just buy the HD versions.
Hey, so this is like a personal thing.
You got a bright red ring around the base of your penis.
Yeah.
I feel like we need some. Michael, do you have any piano music on cue?
Play a little soft piano, or
do I have soft
like
piano?
Like a fucking flute, jazz flute.
Bruce Banner walking away. Do you have that in the archives?
I don't have that one. What do I have?
The end of the Incredible Hulk.
I do have. I did have music. Where is it?
Give me a little ditty.
In this one. Might be in this one.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's right.
Do you guys have low testosterone? No. This like seriously, like not what I was looking for, but
go to YouTube. Yes, that's a sad one.
Yeah.
We've used that before, James on James.
Oh, yeah.
Go to YouTube and type in Bruce Banner walking away. That's the music as soon as you have Bruce Banner walking away music, Mark, that's your cue to go.
Okay.
Mike, you can do this. I know you can.
I'm looking for it.
Just Bruce Banner walking away.
I know
and
the actual song, but yeah, I've not got it.
That's details, man. Details.
It's only 23 set on this one's 149.
That's all we need. Just. That was your cue, Mark.
Do you guys have a hard time sleeping at night? Maybe you don't sleep as good as you used to. Like me. And sometimes you find yourself falling asleep to an iPad. Well, this one from Lord Neil Ballmer is a great YouTube video for you to watch. It's the complete history of video games. And it's goddamn 6 hours fucking long, and it's epic. So maybe you can watch the whole thing in one day. Probably not, but it's something great to fall asleep to. And it's from Never Knows Best and almost 1 million fucking people have watched it. It's pretty badass. The link will be in the show notes.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Lovely. One here. Which one shall I do? I'll do this one from David Gyrick, a new Game Boy Color game, and it is called Zephyr's Pass. It's a new great adventure for the Game Boy Color. It takes place in a land tormented by wind. The wind lays waste to the lands, making the surface unlivable. And it looks quite Zelda-like with an overworld where you're mooching about and then you get inside dungeons. Very Zelda-like. Does look very good. Awesome graphics, it says. A cinematic adventure. You can play a demo. Does it have a link to buy the game? It doesn't on this page. I'm sure when it is finished and available for sale, you will be able to do it on the link in the show notes.
Got one here because I am eternally tied to retro video game magazines, and this is RPM, the unofficial retro PlayStation magazine, and it was successfully funded on Kickstarter by Sandeep Rai. 771 backers, funded to the tune of £9,914 to bring this project to life. Looks like it just finalized, but there is still time for you to back it if you want to get some digital copy or a physical copy of it. Looks like only certain countries, so definitely check it out. But it looks like these guys are putting together a Sony PlayStation magazine. So they're featuring a lot of stuff from the original Sony catalog, like Gran Turismo. They have some of the original people on board. They're going into the origins of Siphon Filter with Richard Hamm, the lead game designer. So probably, it looks okay. It doesn't, I don't know that this is something that's gonna like light your world on fire, but got Adam Cartwright, Ian Shearer, Paul James, Jamie Watson, some other people. So something I'll definitely keep an eye on. I'll probably get the digital subscription just so I can get a copy of it here. Interested to see where it goes, but it was interesting to see that this thing was funded in only 8 hours. So it blew to its goal pretty quickly, and interesting to keep print alive. Have quite a background in print history. At one point, I was the art director at a large women's lifestyle magazine. Oddly enough, had a circulation of 9 million copies, and those days are long fucking gone. But still nice to see ink on paper. So there you go.
You should relaunch Retro Magazine.
I feel like somebody owns the man, I could, yeah, I don't know.
I think you do. I mean, in the end, you own the tool chain, the one of your own words, pagination.
Oddly enough, one of the guys from Destructoid reached out to me 2 weeks ago on LinkedIn saying that there was a project that people were kicking around that they wanted me involved in. I was like, I'm not sure that now's the right time. I got a lot going on. I got a daughter that's getting ready for college, and we're doing national travel volleyball and some other shit. So I don't have the free time quite yet, but maybe in another year or something, I'll have some free time to dig into it.
What was the project?
I think it would just be.
Was it a magazine?
I think it would be funny just to launch Retro Magazine again and actually have it.
Yeah, it's a book. I don't like. I've certainly talked about it multiple times about what I was looking to do, but more of like an encyclopedia. And some folks have contacted me about working on it. So I just don't have the time right now. Maybe in a year I would, but interesting, and there's some weird they them persons like in my front yard. Weird. I don't know. Okay.
All right. Got one here from David Gyrich. Now, funny enough, this is a link to an article, YouTube video that is done by Modern Vintage Gamer, one of the guys that was one of the original devs on a shockingly large number of the emulators that I certainly remember and used over the years. So definitely a field expert in these things. So Modern Vintage Gamer posted an example of how somebody bought an Xbox dev unit and said, hey, can you help me dump what's on here? And he said, yeah, sure, of course. So he sent him the hard drive, and then he dumped off 2 games, one of which was a unreleased, previously unknown game. Now we're up to 86% of the games unavailable, so we're doing good. But anyway, Modern Vintage Gamer, if you haven't watched his stuff, definitely a solid watch.
All right, something else you should check out is some Indiana Jones footage from the unreleased Sega Genesis game. It is a YouTube link. You can watch it at your leisure, sent in by David Gyrich. And he also sent us in a Sonic Adventure multiplayer mod. Let's have a look at this. A mod for Sonic Adventure DX multiplayer mod. What do you have to do? Or is it just a patch that you apply? Looks like a patch that you just apply. And it will give you multiplayer, should you so wish. What did I have open then? I had another open then, and it's gone. There it is. Another from David Gyrich, and this is a PSX Konami book. It's a Kickstarter. This is Volume 3, a chronological retrospective of all of Konami's games on the original PlayStation from 95 to 2002. It's over 350 pages and over 1,000 screenshots. 101 people backed it. They raised over $7,800 to bring the project to life. So if you got in on that, it is funded and you should receive your book soon. I can't see if they're selling it afterwards once all the backers have them, but no doubt they will.
Let's see. So, I love it. Here's one from the random one. Looks like Hyperkin have a bunch of official merchandise accessories for stuff UK Mike will never own. So, let's see what they got. Well, that's kind of cool. So they have a watch here. It's got a fairly large screen on it. I'm guessing it actually plays the game of Tetris and not just displays it. Let's see here. $34 for a Tetris watch. And here, for Nintendo Switch, OLED model. Interesting. So the one thing they don't tell you is whether or not the game is playable. So I'm going to assume it's not, since they don't say up front that it is. That's the usual move there. Yeah, it looks like a bunch of Tetris. It looks like just a bunch of Tetris graphics stamped onto existing products. So let's see. Yeah, they're selling some sort of generic smartwatches for $25 that are compatible with Apple via adapters. Sure. And most Android smartwatches. It's a limited release band. They're selling you a band so they're selling you a watch band, not a smartwatch, for $25 for a rubber band with Tetris images stamped on it. Now, look, I mean, fair enough. Let's say you took one of those $25 Android smartwatches that are sold on Amazon, and you stamp Space Invaders on it and sold it for $25. I suppose that's a thing. But let's say you take a watch band and stamp Space Invaders on it and sell it for $25. I guess that's also a thing. So probably wouldn't be something I'd order.
No. And this is something that I'm not really that interested in. But thanks for sending it anyway, David Gyrick. One is Princess Maker 2 Regeneration, announced for PS4, 5, at Switch and PC. I never played Princess Maker 1. I'm sorry. And this one, Inin and Taito are teaming up to release the 2005 coin-op Spicer Adventure on consoles. Looks very Japanese, looks very cutesy, looks very colourful. So if that's your thing, then you can get in on that.
Got one here from Lord Neil Balmer. And he says, I don't remember this being covered in the news. If it was, I apologize. I don't think it was, and I think you're good. Anyway, one of those brainy people on the internet came up with an HDMI mod for the N64 that uses nothing but a Pi Pico. Apparently, it reads the 320 by 240 RGB video straight from the N64 processor, doubles the size, now puts it as a DVI-compatible signal over HDMI. I assume it would fail if a game uses any screen resolution other than default 230 by 240. But wow, an HDMI mod for the N64 for less than £10. If you can find a Pi Pico or a Pi Nano.
Yeah.
That said, yeah, I mean, I don't. It might. It looks like it does exactly what he lists. You see a ribbon cable here soldered onto the pickup points from the IC on the console board. So it doesn't look like it uses. I would have expected it to use a CPLD, which is a pretty useful chip. And I've got a number of these things that use a Pi controlling a CPLD to do CGA graphics over the HDMI. So if they're using it without a CPLD, I wouldn't say I'd be curious as to how it keeps up and how well it does. But while there would be like a resolution limit, just like with the CPLD based ones, it's a fairly trivial task to create a new profile to work with different resolutions, different clock speeds. So within the limitations of the hardware, I would think it probably wouldn't work with anything but this for now, but it could be developed to work with other things. So yeah, it's interesting that they're doing this without some sort of accessory hardware like a CPLD. So interesting design there.
Okay. Got one from Doug, and I think this is going to be the last one because I'm kind of fading out a little bit. But this is a maybe the longest email we've had in a long time. So Doug, thanks for sending this, and this is really a response to Subaru Brat. So if you want to pull up the last email, because I think you want to read along, but Doug tells us, recently I listened to an episode where I think for the second time you discussed the Odyssey 2 system for the hardware flashback. I guess the main point of the hardware flashback is the hardware, and it's always informative.
He nailed it.
It's interesting and informative, especially about the processor. But then you touched on games and blew that part of it again.
Fair enough.
The Odyssey 2 is a great system to look into and collect, not only because of the reasonably priced and collectible cartridges, but there's some crazy awesomeness as well. Awesome art. See Alien Invaders Plus. Basically, more than any other console of the generation, it's arcade games deviated from gameplay substantially from the actual arcade games, which inspired them with unique twists. Pac-Man type game, Casey Munchkin having moving dots, so you had to chase the dots when you were down to the last dot, then the thing booked. You could also program your own mazes or choose randomly generated mazes with invisible walls. The sequel to Pac-Man games, Casey's Crazy Chase, which had you chasing centipede-like creature in a maze so you could eat him ass first, while avoiding his head. Space Invaders game showed you the actual man who was in the cannon. You got to hit, and you could run, remaining shield, convert to a new cannon. The breakout type game, the blockout Breakdown has player 2 trying to rebuild the blocks while you destroyed them. Galaxian, the attack of the Time Lord, which included mines that allowed you to hunt down if they land on the bottom of the screen. The asteroids, the UFO, which included a shield not only for protection but also for ramming things. Defender, which was freedom fighters, let you use the second joystick to a singular game screen for scrolling. Donkey Kong-ish game, which was Pickaxe Pete. Something else very fun, totally unique games. Killer Bees. Let's see what else he goes on. Graphical, yeah, and on and on and on. The games were great or good, even when they weren't. Alien Invaders was easy to master. Blockout with shit controls was unique experience.
All right, so hey, let's do this. Let's do this.
Michael,
he had add to the top 10 future top 10s, top 10 Odyssey 2 games. No, absolutely. I gave because it's the hardware flashback. We were talking about the hardware of the Odyssey 2. Yeah, I did not do a deeper, thorough at all dive into the games. That wasn't really the intention, but let's do that. Let's get 3 or 4 different perspectives on it and give it some just who was it who sent that in?
Doug0909.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike, if you would give him credit for that suggestion, and we'll put that in as a future top 10. Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that, and I appreciate Mr. 99999 there for tagging in and you know everything he said. Yeah, I mean there is a tremendous catalog there, and we should explore that. But I mean, so again, the point was kind of talk about the hardware there.
Yeah, but you know, Doug's totally right. Like right now, I'm looking at a lot of 14 Magnavox Odyssey 2 games in box complete, including UFO, Munchkin, everything else, and it's on eBay, and it's $100 for 14 games.
No, it's a very affordable system to collect for, and it's one of those systems that if you don't own it, you can add the pretty much complete collection to your personal collection for but probably $100 to $200, you know, with boxes and everything.
I mean, I'm looking at like $150 for 14 games, $100 for 12 games, like just on and on and on. Like if you're looking for something to like, maybe it's a sleeper right now, kind of sneak in there and, you know, get a, how old is it? 50 years old at this point? 40 years old?
40-ish.
40 plus. I mean, these are like sealed games and shit. I mean, you could really mop up on some Odyssey 2, and it's you know, the style of the box looks great. The art on it looks great. I mean, even if you're just like looking for something, guys, to put on your wall, like maybe you have some.
It's a good looking console, man. I mean,
you got some J channel or L channel, and you have something on your wall. And you want to display some games, and you want to have like, you know, kind of like I was saying earlier, like I have comics from, you know, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and all, on and on and on. Like, you just want to have something on a wall, like. Grab some Odyssey, like some like Jungle Girl, like the box art looks fucking dope for that thing. Like, grab it, you know. These games are out there and they're affordable, you know. Like some of these consoles, the price is skyrocketed. You can get, what the hell is this one? Time Lord, Attack of the Time Lord. Like that is such a like classic looking like synth wave type, you know, trippy ass art. Like pick it up. Like even if you don't have the system, you're just looking for something cool for the wall, $20 get you a 1982. It's what, 41 years old at this point or something like that.
Well, see, this is one of those systems that I'll make a prediction about the Odyssey 2. It's going to be like the color computer from the TRS-80 color computer. It's going to be one of those systems that gets no love, no respect, no collective traction until one day it does. So now is the time to definitely grab them.
I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of these things out there, really.
Yeah, there is, man. Look,
but in comparison,
in comparison to Atari, no, sir, not comparable numbers, right?
You're right.
But as far as in proportion to the collector base, if anything, there are, in terms of good condition with the box, good looking consoles, there are more of those per collector than there are Atari 2600s in comparable condition per collector. To use sort of the gold standard of comparison.
But
so I would say buy one and buy it now while it's on the cheap.
And they work, and it's bulletproof. Like they work 9 times out of 10, as far as I'm concerned. Right? Would you agree, Scott?
9 times out of 10 is probably pretty fair. And there's only 2 things that are going to go bad here: the wall wart, if it was already dead, and then the filter capacitor on there is aging. But even on mine, it still works well enough. I mean, the filter capacitor, when I replaced it, was working well enough for it to run without any glitches. I didn't even bother to test it just because of the age, but it may have been passable. Anyway, it's a very simple console and very easy to update. So yes, I agree. It's obtainable, and you should obtain one. As is the case with many of those sort of third tier. Let's face it, it wasn't Atari, it wasn't Coleco or Intellivision. It was like you have the Arcadia, you have the Odyssey T, you have all these others, the Channel F. Absolutely grab those things. Well, so one of the thing that Midnight Radio, he just drops in a great point in chat. Good point. Wish I would have listened to you about the Vectrex. So at one point, now we're talking now close to 2 decades or a decade ago, the Vectrex was not tremendously sought after. There were good condition examples available for any interested collector at a reasonable price. Not the case anymore. So, I mean, not slinging insults, but I don't think the Odyssey 2 will ever have the collector cachet that the Vectrex does. But the market's going to shift, and suddenly it's going to become available. I mean, desirable. So that's absolutely true. Real quick, I did want to acknowledge before it scrolls off there, Benjamin Martin brought up the point, as did Midnight Radio. Love that Zelda watch. Yeah, so I'm holding it up for the camera right now. That's it in its crystal display box that you would see in the store. Later ones were done in in a blister pack, like cardstock to hang on a peg. Anyway, that is one really cool watch.
So it's getting close to that time again. My cough and throat are starting to be bothersome. But there's a couple I wanted to hit first. Dave Lanke, David Gyrick, and Gareth Hamer all sent this in. The Tomb Raider collection, the original 1, 2, and 3 Tomb Raider games are being remastered for Nintendo Switch. That and Atari, taking over Atari Age, I think were probably our biggest submitted stories this month. And the other one I wanted to hit, again, was Tomb Raider related. Self-aware Lara Croft plays her own game. This is a YouTube video sent in by a Knight of the Realm, Lord Neil Barmer. And it's a guy talking you through various stages of building an AI to control Lara Croft and play Tomb Raider. And it plays through the level. He tells you how he does each bit of it. Just a really interesting video. And it plays through the first level of Tomb Raider. It does a couple of dumb things, but it does a couple of very clever things. So just to give you a quick overview, like he programs it so if it goes into a location and sees a new texture on the wall, it will head for that texture and investigate it to find out what it is. And it will look to see if it can jump across gaps, and then, how much momentum it needs, whether it's safe to do so, and all of that. And he talks you through how he does it all, but it also talks as well. So he gives Lara a voice, and the AI will tell you what she's actually thinking. So she'll say, "Oh, there's wolves down there, aren't they cute?" And then The first time, like, she encounters the bats, she'll say, "Oh, these are bats. These are nice animals." And then it attacks her. She says, "Ow, that hurts. I'm bleeding." And then she shoots them. And then the next time she sees bats, she knows to shoot them straight away. Just really interesting video, about 40 minutes long. I would recommend you give it a watch.
Well, Mike, I think we are caught up on news. There's a couple other repeat mentions and details, but that should have actually gotten us up current. I'm impressed.
Not too far off. We did cover quite a few tonight. We ran a bit longer than normal, but that's fine. That's all good. We had a few people jump in and join us in chat. A few have come and gone. A few are still there, so thank you for that. Next time you hear us, we will have been to Blackpool. Blackpool will be in the past.
Or you may even hear us live from Blackpool. Why not?
Possibly, yeah.
Have they piped in internet up there yet?
No, nothing.
Or are they still
nothing.
delivering it by hand cart?
Yeah, it's that. You'll have to bring your carrier pigeon.
Well, actually, I could get one of those Scammel Scarabs and, the steam-powered ones, and we could transport internet up there for the good folks.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Yes, thank you to everyone who joined us live, and we will see you next month. Hopefully live again, and hopefully all four of us. You never know your luck in the big city. Say goodnight, everyone. Go on, do it.
Good night, everybody.
There you go. That wasn't difficult, was it? Good night, everybody. Nighty night.